And a good Monday morning, Springfield's Talk 1041. I am Nick Reed. Welcome to the show. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. A little bit of rain. Well, yesterday, a lot of rain, in fact, at least for some of the listening area. Look at that first alert forecast, what to expect. Sounds like a cooler week ahead. We'll get to that coming up over the weekend. A lot of really great announcements regarding the Trump campaign. A number of Democrats that have come out. Fetterman talking about the special bond that Trump has with Pennsylvania voters. A Democrat lawmaker coming out in support of Trump. Additional union members are vocalizing their support for Trump in defiance of what the leadership is doing. And this is just, it's coming to the surface, something that has been going on below the surface for some time, and that is the fact that union leadership does not represent the union workers. They represent the Democrat Party. Their job, and they do it well, is to take money from the workers and then to funnel that money to the Democrat Party and to present the union as if it's in full support, to paint this false picture that people who are hardworking Americans are supporters of the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party is the party of the working man. But we're increasingly, it's bubbling up, and this is good because for every exceedingly rich and famous Taylor Swift-style celebrity or Oprah Winfrey that comes out in support of Kamala Harris, there's yet another union that says 60, 70% of our union members are hardworking Americans support Donald Trump. And this is a divide that is becoming more and more clear as the days go by. A lot of startled reaction from across the country as I believe it was the first cabinet meeting of the year in the Biden administration, and he hands it off to Jill Biden. And reminiscent of the Woodrow Wilson administration, in which he was so out of it. His wife essentially was acting as president of the United States, and you can't help but hearken back to those days when you see Joe Biden introduce himself and then tell Jill, okay, it's all yours. Then there was an event in which he was confused. He was supposed to be introducing, I believe it was the Prime Minister of India, and he loses where he is, and then he says, who's next? I don't know if he thought he was at a press conference all of a sudden, because that's generally what he would do, is look for who's next on his listing of individuals he's told to call on. So, yet just another full display before the world that why they even put him out at this point is beyond me. I don't even understand. It does no good. It only does harm. They act as if it's irrelevant because he's not running for president any longer. The problem is he is president currently as we speak. What on earth they're thinking? If he's running, if he's the candidate, you can understand their calculations, as poor as they may be. Well, we got to get him out there so we got to find a balance here. Yes, we know that there's always a chance he is going to demonstrate the cognitive issues that he has demonstrated on numerous occasions in the past, but maybe he'll have a good day, and we can't keep him completely hidden away. But these calculations aren't no longer in play. Now those are calculations for Kamala Harris. But for Biden, at this point, just keep him hidden away. And listen, the world knows that we don't really have any one person running the country right now in the concept or the context of the presidency. But do you really have to put it on full display? Do we really need to continue to keep it fresh in the minds of other world leaders, of people who would like to do us harm, who perhaps are on the fence as to whether or now is the right time, and then just give them almost a reason? It is almost as if, let me put it this way, if there were internal forces that wanted there to be some sort of advantage taken of our weakened position, this is how they would do that. They would say, let's put him out there for people to see. Let's create this constant reminder that we have not only no strength in the presidency, but no presidency in terms of functionality whatsoever. Plus, something that we knew was coming, and this is the traditional disinformation coming from the Kamala Harris campaign and the media. Over the weekend, abortion, that's their big selling point, the Democrats. And claiming that, and they're using two individuals in particular, that they died because of Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade, which he did not. But because of that, they died. When in fact, the exact opposite is the case. They died because they took abortion pills. And it's crazy that they're using individuals who died from abortions to claim that they died because they couldn't get abortions. Because just last week, I was thinking about all of the women, and it's not just in the United States, but across the world, who die because of either botched abortions or adverse reactions to the abortion pill. Something, particularly with the abortion pill, you've got the Democrats, they've pushed, and sadly successfully enough, to where so many of the regulations have been pulled back, which increases the number of deaths of women, of mothers, who take that abortion pill. And then the fact that the Harris campaign is using, one in particular, a woman who died because of the abortion pill, falsely claiming it was because she wasn't allowed to have an abortion. For all of these hypothetical stories that they put out there about, well, if women aren't allowed to have an abortion, then they're going to be bleeding out in parking lots. They're going to be dying in labor, even though there is nowhere in this country is it not legal to have an abortion whenever the mother's life is in peril. So this scenario doesn't exist anyhow. But for all of the talks about the hypotheticals, they never mention the actual deaths of women who die because of abortion. A high proportion of those because of the pill, the abortion pill. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk a text line 447 KSGF. That weather in a moment. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Well, today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 59. For your Tuesday, mostly cloudy with a high near 73. And on Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 74.
President Biden becoming confused, losing track of events during a press conference alongside the Prime Minister of India on Saturday. What an embarrassment. What an embarrassment. The incident came when Biden was supposed to be introducing Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Wilmington, Delaware. Instead, he became confused, appearing to think that he was waiting for a question from a reporter's. And so then he yells, "Who's next?" He's beginning the introduction. He stops. He forgets where he is, what he's doing. Yells, "Who's next?" And there's this long, uncomfortable pause before someone that is near a microphone then for Biden introduces the prime minister. This is how it all played out.
So I want to thank you all for being here. And now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
I mean, can we stop this at this point?
Yeah, and can we stop laughing at it, too?
I know, playing it off like, oh, that's classic Joe.
Yeah, good old lunch pail Joe.
Pretending like he's confused and doesn't know where he is once again. It's just embarrassing. It is embarrassing. It's embarrassing for world leaders as well who are put on the spot in that position. It's frankly rude. You have this is like the level of respect we give to other leaders in other countries. We talk so much about India is the biggest democracy in the world, so they have a special place on the world stage and so forth. This is what we do to them. We make them stand on stage and put them in what is clearly an uncomfortable position. I mean, yes, this isn't his president. This is the prime minister of another country. But we all understand, if you're a human being, unless you're just weird and you love watching this sort of stuff play out, if you're in a situation where, let's say you're just at some event and there's somebody who's supposed to be speaking and they get lost, and it's embarrassing. You feel embarrassed for them. That's just how we are as human beings. For whatever reason, we are wired that way. And to put world leaders in this position in which they have to stand there on the stage, and they in this instance he's up there with him, and so he knows that people are going to be looking at him as well and his reaction. It's just, frankly, aside from embarrassing, it's extremely rude to knowingly put other people in that position. And why we insist on doing it at this point? There's no need for this. Have Kamala Harris do it. I mean, it's not like they keep talking about how busy she is. This is why she can't do this. This is why she can't. Well, she's just so busy right now. She's not just if anything, to spare us and spare the leaders of other countries in this world the embarrassing situations of being on camera and having to try and navigate a situation in which, I mean, it's just have her do it. Have the Secretary of State, have anyone other, or just don't do the event at all. You don't have to do it. Well, but he's an important partner. That's all the more reason that the Prime Minister of India should not be put in this position. Meanwhile, you have what is the first cabinet meeting in over a year, and for whatever reason, Jill Biden leads it. Things began with Joe Biden holding his first cabinet meeting in over a year, a timeline so absurd, it's hard to understand how a bigger deal hasn't been made about it. That wasn't what set off the most red flags, though. Instead, it was who the president ended up deferring to after fumbling over some pre-written notes. A visibly tired Biden turned and handed things over to Jill Biden. Now, I mean, what is going on? And it's, it has something to do with her level of expertise, and so no, that's not what's going on here. Now, of course, the media, you've got MSNBC, Jill Biden kicking off the first cabinet meeting the White House has seen in almost a year, and we're expected to act like this is normal. But MSNBC, it's a tweet from someone in response to MSNBC acting like, oh, it's just perfectly normal. Can you imagine? Just to constantly do the can you imagine game. But if Trump or anyone else for that matter, they still to this day will, well, not so much now that there's the acknowledgement of Biden, but it wasn't uncommon for Democrats to try and smear Ronald Reagan by saying, well, he clearly was declining in the end because there was one instance in which he was speaking at some event and Nancy Reagan whispered something to him or, prompted him on something. Can you imagine if Ronald Reagan was at, towards the end of his presidency or the end of his first term, as lost and incoherent as Joe Biden, and it just handed off a cabinet meeting to Nancy Reagan? But, of course, the gaslight, no, this is perfect. She's a doctor, after all. Is she now president of the United States? Is this how it works? Did I miss this portion of the Constitution when the president of the United States is no longer able to serve and no one in the cabinet will admit it publicly? Then his wife gets to step in and be president. Is she going to start signing any sort of legislation that may make its way to the president's desk? Again, at this point, why even? Why even do this? Why even have a cabinet meeting? There hasn't been one in over a year. And it was clearly done for show because the cameras were there. It was all. There's got to be something going on here. Some reason that they are deciding to, in unnecessary circumstances, put Joe Biden out there. Now, I try to think from their perspective and what could they be thinking in a non-nefarious manner. And I suppose when it comes to the situation that happened over the weekend with the Prime Minister of India, in which Biden gets confused, forgets what he's supposed to be doing, that they could have told themselves, well, listen, this was something that was planned so far in advance, and if we cancel it, it'll be signaling that something's wrong with Biden, and let's just gamble and let's just maybe he'll pull this off and it'll be fine. We want to keep that presence of Biden is still in charge. I could see, as poor of a decision as that would be, maybe trying to convince themselves, okay, this is why it's a good idea. But have a cabinet meeting, call the cameras in order, and just to hand it off to Joe Biden. I mean, what's the point of this? On the other side, we'll talk a little bit about the latest developments with Donald Trump. Of course, making big news last week, the official leadership of the Teamsters declaring that they would not make an endorsement, that because the vast majority of their workers are supporters of Donald Trump. Other unions are speaking out as well. Now, there is one union endorsement that Kamala got over the weekend. Did you see this union endorsement, Sarah, that Kamala got over the weekend?
I think I did. Is it the one that is a part of the oh shoot.
It was the IRS.
Yes, that's I was turning into Joe Biden over here.
The IRS.
It was
saying that she shares their values.
National Treasury's Employee Union.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Don't get me wrong. It's not as if now, first off, I don't know I don't know that they actually released a vote count. This is what the Teamsters did in order to, well, whatever their reason was. But they released the voting member numbers, and that's where you got the 60-30 or 68, so whatever the numbers were, in which Trump overwhelmingly was beating Kamala Harris amongst actual workers. So we don't know. But you are talking government workers, and a lot of people in government are concerned that if Donald Trump gets reelected, that he is going to streamline things, particularly as he talks about having Elon Musk come on board and that essentially do that, come in, figure out how to streamline things. And so you can understand if that is your paycheck and you are in government and you're worried about somebody making government more efficient, and that could mean the losing of your job. You could see why they wouldn't support. So it wouldn't surprise me if you did have a majority of the IRS workers that are supportive of Kamala Harris. And not all. Just because an individual works within the IRS, I know someone who works in the IRS. Fantastic individual. But yeah, you would think that there would be some recognition that, fairly or unfairly, the American people do not feel very comfortable at the, whenever they get a letter or a phone call or some sort of communication from the IRS. People's experiences with the IRS generally are not that fantastic. Couple with that the fact that the IRS under Lois Lerner during the Obama years got caught, and she lied about it, where there was widespread targeting of people who were not supportive of Barack Obama. Like, is that really the endorsement you want? I mean, once again, we're seeing a divide between those who support Kamala Harris versus those that support Donald Trump. We got a traffic update. Then want to share some audio. Is neat moment. Donald Trump at a rally in North Carolina, and he brings up a couple of his grandkids to speak into the microphone. So we'll have that audio plus some major endorsements coming Trump's way. Now, like I said, Kamala, she gets these elite endorsements. She gets these big government, uber wealthy celebrity endorsements. We got mayor of Muslim majority Michigan City endorsing Trump. We've got increased number of union workers coming out in support of Trump. So more on all of those developments. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll have showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 59. For your Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high near 73. And on Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 74.
Have you seen this or heard this audio where Trump has his grandkids with him at this rally?
You know, I think I have, actually.
Yeah, the video of it's cute as well. Oh, and I meant to mention this last week, but that new video, that song, what's it called? That song that was written for Trump.
Oh, yeah, you sent it to me.
It hit #1 on something.
Oh, did it really?
Yes, it did. In terms of downloads, I don't know if that was Amazon or what ranking it was, but the video for it. Did you even watch it?
I did. It's If He Can Take a Bullet.
Yeah.
I can write a song.
Is that the title of this song?
I believe
Okay.
so. John Kahn, I believe, is
Yeah,
who wrote
I
it.
wasn't familiar with him, so I don't know whether he is a big name or not. It's it's
Or
pretty
no,
good.
I lied. I think it's called Fighter.
Okay, yeah,
I'll put it up in our show notes.
it's really great video of Trump, and it accompanies the song. Obviously, it's all black and white, but it's really, really. I thought it was a great video.
No, it really was.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yesterday, or not yesterday, rather, this would have been Saturday, Wilmington, North Carolina, and Donald Trump bringing his two of his grandkids up at separate times on the stage, which, by the way, he acknowledges all of his grandkids, which would be different for a person occupying the White House should he get elected president.
Going to do that. Can I ask Carolina to come up? Is that possible? Carolina. She sat on my lap during the Republican convention. Yeah, go ahead. You got it. Ah. That was great, honey. What? Thank you. What a good battle. Wow. I can see the new senator when Ted someday he's going to say, "Sir, I've had it. I can't do it any longer." He's going to resign or leave, and we're going to have Carolina get in there and run. Anyway, would anybody like to meet Luke, her brother? Luke, come on up.
Vote for Grandpa.
Oh. Oh. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Great shot. So cute. Oh, he doesn't want to get off the stage. Oh, wow. Look at that. He's got the gene. Thank you. Thank you, Luke. You know, I said, say MAGA. I whispered into his ear, so cute. I said, say MAGA. He said, vote for Grandpa. He didn't care what I said. And that was actually much better, right? That was much better.
That was Trump, couple of his grandkids.
cute.
Yeah. Well, and you can hear him. Obviously, he says he doesn't want to get off the stage, and as he's walking off the stage, and everyone's cheering, he looked like maybe he was 7, somewhere on there, and he has both hands in the air waving. He stops to wave to everybody, and yeah, no, it was definitely it was cute. You can tell when you watch it that for Trump, that isn't a prop thing. I mean, you could just see he genuinely adores those grandkids, which you hear this, but you always hear that about elected officials. Like, isn't this almost still to this day, this is the way that the media portrays Joe Biden. It was he just loves his family so much. He loves it, the ones that he acknowledges, of course. He loves him so much. And that's the only reason that Republicans, this is Claire McCaskill's line on MSNBC, where she was claiming the only reason Republicans were attacking poor Joe Biden was just because he loved his family so much. Of course, if you read through any of the messages and the communications from Hunter Biden's laptop, the horrific things they say to one another, the way they treat each other, the name calling, the accusations. I mean, it's just some of the nastiest, meanest stuff that many of us wouldn't even say about our worst enemies. Trump, on the other hand, I mean, you just with family, there's never any accusations of that sort of stuff going on. They're just also put together, and you could just tell, like when it comes to those grandkids, he genuinely cares for them and adores them, and so I thought that was a fun moment. The mayor of a Muslim-majority city in Michigan has announced he's endorsing Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential election, calling the former commander-in-chief, quote, the right choice for this crucial time. Amr Ghalib, mayor of the Detroit area suburb Hamtramck, announced his endorsement of Trump in a Facebook post yesterday. While admitting he and Trump did not agree on everything, he said he regarded the former commander-in-chief as a man of principles. Quote, though it's looking good, he may or may not win the election and be the 47th president of the United States, but I believe he's the right choice for this critical time, he wrote in Arabic on his Facebook page. I'll never regret my decision, no matter what the outcome would be, and I'm ready to face the consequences. For this, and for many other reasons, I announce my support and endorsement for the former and hopefully the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. He added, now let the caravan begin its journey. This is just the starting point. Trump reposted the message from the mayor on his Truth Social account. The mayor said, we talked about various topics, including the debates, the polls, the updates, the statistics of voter in Michigan and Wayne County, the Arab American concerns, and the Yemeni Americans in particular. We also talked about the situation in Yemen. The city in which this mayor presides is governed entirely by Muslims, with more than 40% of the city's population foreign-born. Now, I imagine this is going to get downplayed in the media. If it does get any attention, they will figure out a way to probably trash all over this guy. They will look into anything they can about this mayor in order to paint him as not counting, if you will, particularly when it comes to Muslim Americans. This is also a pretty fascinating endorsement, given to what lengths Kamala Harris has gone to try to win over the Muslim vote. And it also shows us that in order to get support from human beings who happen to be Muslim, it does not mean that you have to take a knee to terrorism. The left will oftentimes, they make a point to say not all Muslims are terrorists, as if that's something that Republicans believe or promote, which they do not. Yet when it comes to trying to win over the Muslim vote, they act as if they do believe that all Muslims are either terrorists or supporters of terrorists, because that's the segment of the Islamic community that they cater to. The Trump position regarding this endorsement and the Trump campaign is that, hey, guess what? There are Muslims that like peace. And those are the Muslims that we are targeting. Those who, like other human beings, regardless of race, regardless of orientation of any kind, they want peace. And you've got two different approaches in the Middle East, particularly when you've got involved in all of, the conflicts, a Muslim community versus the Jewish community or the state of Israel. And Trump's approach led to increased peace. It led to these Abraham peace accords between a number of different nations and Israel. And the Trump approach is the way that you win over voters of all stripes is to make life better. And that includes Muslims. There are Muslims that actually would love for there to be peace across this planet. The targeting of the Muslim vote for the Democrats is instead to focus on being more sympathetic to those who believe in terrorism, those who are anti-Semitic. This is why the Harris campaign decided to skip over Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania because he was Jewish. This is why they continue to say things like those who are calling for the death of Israel, in Joe Biden's words, they have a point. It was just weeks ago he said that about the protesters and those who are calling for the death to Jews. And, well, they got a point. And to see the two separate approaches regarding the vote of that particular demographic, the Muslim vote, and the Trump approach is believing that if you create meaningful steps towards peace, you can win over the Muslim vote. The Harris approach has been if you try and win over those who support terrorism as a form of getting what you want, that's their approach to get the Muslim vote. Now, the problem with that approach is a couple of problems with it. One, it's evil, and it is catering towards evil. But the other is it generally doesn't work anyhow. Because you can never do enough for those who believe in using violence to wipe out an entire people in order to get their way. There's no halfway there. There's no compromise with that. And so in catering to people who want to finish what Hitler started, but at the same time giving lip service to the right of Israel to defend itself, that does not cut it for those who support terrorism. And it's one of the reasons that looking at a state like Michigan in particular, there are grave concerns that it could be the Muslim vote that cost Kamala Harris this election. Many of them are gravitating towards Jill Stein, but what about those who do not support terrorism? What about those that are not anti-Semitic? Well, there's Donald Trump. What about the segment of the Muslim population that would love to coexist with people of all backgrounds and religions? There's Donald Trump. And I think it's fascinating that you take the reality of where voters fall, particularly in this context, and you juxtapose it to the way that each side is presented by the media, and it's the opposite. The reality is the opposite from the narrative. And to have the mayor of the largest Muslim population, where every elected official is Muslim, to come out and support Donald Trump, something that I'm sure the Harris campaign probably just beyond their comprehension. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line regarding Jill Biden being handed a cabinet meeting, the first one in over a year. Joe Biden kind of fumbled through opening remarks and then just handed it to her. So apparently that's a new thing that you can do. A number of you believing this is all part of a plan to hand the presidency to Kamala Harris. Jill taking over. It is to pardon Hunter. We've got another one saying that Joe Biden being brought out so they can make Kamala the 47th president before the election. They are going to remove him with the 25th and put Kamala in. You know, sometimes things are simpler than that, though I don't dismiss it. I try to think what could be the simplest thing in terms of personalities here. And it just could be as simple as she's sort of narcissistic, and this is an opportunity for her to feel important and to lead a cabinet meeting and convinces Joe, why don't you let me take this? I mean, it could be something as simple as that. But I do think this would be interesting to watch play out. Let's say Trump gets elected president. By the way, there are a number of you. So I had conversations with people at Honda the Ozarks. They had their 12th anniversary celebration on Saturday, and we were out there for a couple of hours. So I had an opportunity to talk with a bunch of you, and it's interesting because there is a segment of the population that believes that if Trump is able to win, and even there are enough votes cast to override any of the illegal voting that takes place. Many of you believe that there are plans that Democrats have to just do whatever to prevent him from being president of the United States by whatever means. And while some of those possibilities are possibilities that I might not necessarily think are the likeliest possibilities, certainly can't dismiss them. I don't think any reasonable person at this point can say, well, the Democrats won't do that or the deep state won't do that. By the way, every day that goes by, I become more and more into the I believe that our government assassinated JFK column. I mean, I've always sort of, growing up, and you hear the conspiracy theories and everything, and so I always entertained, I suppose it's possible, but the more that time goes on and the more that we learn about what lengths that these deep state people will go, I think that it definitely is plausible. But let's say that I'm thinking of all the different scenarios. I could see this happening. Trump wins. He wins so overwhelmingly. They're like, you know what? He's going to be in there 4 years. There will be enough Democrats that say, listen, this is not going to be the end of democracy as we know it. We can ride this out. This will give us a chance to reset. This is actually probably better for us long term than Kamala Harris as president, let's be honest, and see this, just calm themselves down and accept the reality of it, do everything they can, of course, during the presidency to block him and to demonize him, but to go ahead and allow the peaceful transition of power. I could see in between that acceptance and the swearing in of Trump, putting Kamala in as booting Biden out. That way they could say that just one, to sort of almost in their minds, that would really stick it to Trump somehow. Like, we'll show him Kamala will be president before he serves a second term, which I don't think really makes any difference to him whatsoever if they were to do that. And it would also allow them to tout around the historic first. Oh, the Democrats make history once again. So if they were to do that, I could see it being almost out of spite and just to have bragging rights after the election if Trump were to win. But listen, it is very difficult to predict people that are so emotionally erratic as the Democrat Party. And that's why you just never know on any given day what they will do or what they're capable of. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. I want a great homeloan.com. If you want a home loan or refinancing, or you have any questions regarding either, those are the folks you want to reach out to. We had Anthony on with us on Friday out at Scramblers, the Friday Road Show, talking about the interest rates and there's a lot of misconceptions out there, the way things are being reported. What does this mean? Does this mean that this is the time? Should you wait? Reach out to them, ask them the questions. A lot of it is going to depend on numerous factors, and they're going to ask you questions about what your plans are, what your thoughts are, and then based off all of that information, they're going to provide you with the answers. And not the answer is, oh, yes, you should do it, but may say, well, if you're wanting to do this, then yeah, it may be a good time. Or if your plan is this, then you need to think about that. Ultimately, they are an information machine, and they are the ones who are going to provide you with all of the best information possible. That way, this time next year or the next year or the next year, you're not saying, man, I wish I'd known that at that time because it would have changed the decision I made. They can provide you with that information. I want a great homeloan.com because you do. Representative Alyssa Slotkin, Democrat from Michigan, was dealt a blow in the Michigan Senate race this week when the Michigan Farm Bureau's Agri-PAC endorsed her Republican opponent. Former Representative Mike Rogers potentially upending the already close race. In the latest slate of endorsements, the industry group revealed its support for Rogers, diverging from Agri-PAC's recent history of endorsing the Democrat candidate for that Senate seat. The group has not endorsed a Republican candidate for the Senate seat since 2006. Backing outgoing Senator Debbie Stabenow, Democrat Michigan, in her reelection campaign in 2012 and 2016. Rogers saying in a statement, I'm honored and grateful to earn the endorsement of Agri-PAC and the farmers across Michigan who feed our nation and power Michigan's economy. So this is a couple of Michigan blows against the Democrats over the weekend, with the Muslim mayor of the largest Muslim city in the country endorsing Trump, and now this. News in 60 seconds. A1 Custom Car Care, you got car care needs, you got A1 Custom Car Care. You know, there are a lot of stores that advertise if your check engine light is on, just stop in, they'll check it for free, and then they'll sell you whatever part it indicates isn't working. The problem is sometimes the part isn't working because of a problem further down the line, if you will. And so they sell you a part, you get it put in, and then a few miles down the road, that part goes, the new part goes, and that's because it was a symptom of the problem, not the source. It's like going to the doctor because you have a cough and being told you have a cough. Yes, I know that, but I want to know what's causing the cough. A1 Custom Car Care, when they diagnose something, they find the source of the problem, not the symptom of the problem, so that you save money. So you're not buying part after part after part over and over and over again because of an inability to pinpoint what the source of the problem is. That's what they do with A1 Custom Car Care. It's also part of the reason they have that 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on most work. That way, if something does end up happening like that, you're taken care of. A1 Custom Car Care for all of your car care needs. It was really a good news weekend for Donald Trump, bad news weekend for Kamala Harris, and it really began the end of last week when you had the Teamsters coming out and endorsing Donald Trump. Now, the official union, which union leadership doesn't represent the workers, they represent the Democrat Party, announced that they were endorsing no one, and the workers voted overwhelmingly, about 2-1, that they wanted Donald Trump to be president of the United States. Then there was the announcement yesterday, the mayor of the largest Muslim city in the country, a city that every elected official for the city is a Muslim, the mayor there endorsing Donald Trump. You had also in Michigan, the biggest farm pack that hasn't endorsed a Republican since 2006 for U.S. Senate has decided to do just that and endorse a Republican. Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, another swing state, a Democrat from Pennsylvania has vowed to support President Donald Trump over his stance on Israel, arguing the endorsement of a pro-Jewish president is critical for the existence of the community. Steve Rosenberg, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, argued that there is only, quote, one candidate for Jewish voters during America's Newsroom, warning that far-left Democrats are working against their cause to support Iran instead. Quote, if you're a Jew, if you're pro-Israel, there's only one candidate here, the Democrat told Dana Perino. Actions speak louder than words. Kamala Harris has surrounded herself by some of the worst Jew haters there are. Mar Bitar, Philip Gordon, Ilan Goldberg's got a nice name, but if you look at their record, they're all pro-Iran. They're not pro-Israel. To me, all the other options that are on the table, whether you be climate-oriented, abortion-oriented, whatever your orientation, if you're not focused on being a Jew and being pro-Israel right now, we are in the fight of our literal lives. And all of those issues will not be there if you're dead in 4 years. They're trying to kill us. Vice President Harris, of course, has been largely vague on her stance regarding the war in Israel, although she does support rewarding the terrorists by giving them a state as part of the two-state solution. John Fetterman, who is the one bright light when it comes to the Democrat Party regarding their catering towards the anti-Semites, and he has been unapologetically supportive of the Jewish people of Israel. He said during an interview at the Atlantic Festival that former President Donald Trump has a special bond with voters in his state that deepened after the July 13th assassination attempt. Quote, Trump has created a special kind of bond. He's remade the party, and he has a special kind of place in Pennsylvania, Fetterman told interviewer Jeffrey Goldberg. And I think it only deepened after the first assassination attempt. So you've got in Pennsylvania, you've got this state Democrat that's come out supporting Trump. You have Fetterman, though he's not endorsing Donald Trump. That's pretty significant for him in the state of Pennsylvania to openly say, when it comes to workers, when it comes to the people of Pennsylvania, Trump has a special bond. And what he says regarding the party, is very significant here. He said that he's remade the party, talking about the Republican Party, and this is true. As the Democrats have remade their party into the party of the powerful, the elite, and the rich, Donald Trump has remade the Republican Party into the working man's party. And that's what Fetterman is noting here. That the remaking of the Republican Party at the hands of Donald Trump is something that resonates with the workers of Pennsylvania, something that has created this special relationship with the people of Pennsylvania. There are a couple of other unions that have come out, or at least the members are coming out in support of Donald Trump. Bob Bartels, business manager at Steam Fitters Local 636, says that 70% of his members are supporting Donald Trump. The UAW, while the officials endorsed Harris, Brian Panbecker of Auto Workers for Trump said that he's doing rallies with auto workers every week in the Detroit area. He said that 65 to 70% of the United Auto Workers were supporting Trump, quote, because the very existence of our industry is at stake. It's an existential threat. If Kamala Harris is elected president, one might even say it could be a bloodbath. He brings up how Harris wants to get rid of gas-powered vehicles by 2035. Quote, that will completely annihilate the domestic auto industry, he said. There are even Hollywood union folks involved in the movement. Rudy Melendez, a member of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, says that members and their families have lost so much over the last 3.5 years. That is why rank-and-file members are supporting Trump. And the divide continues. Fetterman's notation that Trump has remade the Republican Party is on full display, while again, the Democrats' remaking of their party is on full display as well. For every endorsement Kamala Harris gets of a Taylor Swift and an Oprah Winfrey or some other multi-millionaire that is part of the Hollywood elite or deep state individuals, Donald Trump has some unexpected segment of the population that comes out to support him, whether it's a Muslim mayor, local elected Democrats, union members from across the country. And what further notes the division and the divide here in terms of who it is that each party represents when it comes to the unions themselves. The top brass of the unions, those whose job it is not to represent the workers, but to represent the Democrat parties, every time they come out and say we throw our endorsement behind Kamala Harris, the workers raise their voices and say, that doesn't represent us. I get this sense that we are back to 2016. We have had this almost a reset in which people are once again recognizing that the folks in charge are not listening to the American people, do not represent the American people, do not care about the American people, and we're back at 2016. I think there are a lot of aspects of this election that are repeating from 2016. I want to talk a little bit about that coming up. Plus, some of the Venezuelan gangs that have been imported by the Biden-Harris campaign have made their way in Chicago, and there are grave concerns that there are going to be these massive gang turf wars that start rearing its ugly head in Chicago. So, even domestic gangs are taking a backseat to gangs of illegals due to the Biden-Harris campaign, or administration, rather. Weather in a moment. Right now, the latest news update.
In the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 59. For your Tuesday, mostly cloudy with a high near 73. And for Wednesday, mostly sunny skies with a high near 74.
There are three new battleground state polls out. Shows Trump leading Harris in Arizona by 5 points. 5 points in Georgia. Arizona 50-45, Georgia 49-45, North Carolina 49-47. So it's a closer lead there. And, of course, there's this whole situation. We'll talk about it coming up. Is the gubernatorial candidate there. They're really, really out to destroy him. He's black. And if you are black, you are not supposed to get off the Democrat plantation. And they put a target on you. And so CNN, of course, had a report that, I don't know, forever and a day ago that he posted racist things on some social media site, which it was my understanding that you couldn't be racist if you were black. This is what we have been told for years now, that black people cannot be racist. This is part of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that as a black person you can't be racist. So it's very interesting to see CNN and the Democrats all of a sudden they found a black man that can be racist. That's amazing. It's a remarkable find on their part. But there are calls for he needs to step down. He needs latest reports. He's got 4 of his staff people that have resigned over the last weekend, and so it's just a real mess out there, and it's completely unnecessary headache. But we all know this is the whole point. If this were an individual that was a Democrat, CNN would not have even looked into this story. CNN would have never reported this story, whether it's true or not. There would be nothing whatsoever said about it. If Republicans brought it up, we would, of course, be told that you cannot be racist if you're black. But because he's a Republican, this is election interference. Prior to the break, I noted that I get this sense that we're back to 2016. The mood of the country is in terms of people's sense about our government, the people in charge in our government, and who they do and don't represent. And there was this real sense going into 2016 that Hillary Clinton was part of the establishment. Donald Trump was clearly not. Establishment hated him. That included Republicans. I mean, some of these Republicans still exist to this day. Never Trumpers. They will support for the most radically pro-abortion person that has ever existed, pro-crime, pro-open borders, anti-Second Amendment. Of course, she's tried to alter some of these positions. They will support her, defying all of their principles, instead of support Donald Trump because they are establishment first. And because not just Democrats, but Republican establishment attacked Donald Trump, it really gave people this sense that here's a guy that really is different. Because everyone who runs, they're different. They're different. They're going to come to Washington and bring people together. It was even said about George Bush. George Bush, 99, 2000, he's running, and there were Democrats that were state elected officials in Texas that cut ads for him. There was all this talk about how, he was able to bring Democrats and Republicans together. He was, going to usher in this new era. He was an outsider. He was different. Barack Obama, same thing. He's different. I mean, Kamala Harris is trying to run off of that. Acting like she's some outsider. Trump, people could just tell the way that the insiders acted around him. It wasn't the insiders saying, look, he's an outsider. Because the insiders don't want outsiders. They know that you want an outsider. So they will pretend as if the other insiders they're trying to get elected are outsiders. But you can tell by their behavior. And when it came to Donald Trump, the insiders, the elites, they did not want him. Hated him. Then you had the whole COVID fiasco, in addition to the Democrat-encouraged riots that killed dozens of people, including police officers, and billions of dollars worth of damage across this country. Portraying it as the result of Donald Trump. Donald Trump was such a horrible president that this is what happens. It's chaos. So you had the chaos of the Democrat summer of love, and then the COVID, and it was exhausting to people. And the Democrats did do a successful job in making people more desiring of things just being quiet and normal. All of a sudden, the who really represents me took a back seat to wanting the chaos to just we need a rest. And that's how Joe Biden was presented. It's like the old shoe. Like, it's good old Joe, and he's this reliable guy, and everything's going to be fine. The adults will be back in charge. And there was a segment of the population that was appealing to. But over the last 3.5 years, people have seen, number one, it did not bring, in fact, chaos increased. There was not calm brought about. Whether it is the border, the smash and grabs, the random violence occurring, the terrorist attacks in the Middle East, Iran, Putin invading Ukraine, problems with China, and everything got worse in terms of chaos. Not better, but worse. all the while being told, no, everything's better now. Everything's just fine. Everything's better than it was. And so people got hit with a double whammy. One, things did not get better. They got worse. And two, the dismissive nature of the people in charge brought back the memories of people who voted for Trump maybe the first time but not the second time. And that is, we're right back to where they're not listening to us. We're right back to them telling us that we have it good when we're telling them, no, we don't. They're right back to telling us that it's raining when it's a drought. And I think for a lot of Americans who maybe voted for Trump the first time because just the atmosphere of the country, and they felt, oh, finally someone and this, for a lot of people, it was very first-time voters. I still meet folks sometimes like, yeah, I never even voted until Trump ran for president, then I got interested. And I think a lot of you had people that then voted for Biden, or they didn't vote at all because it was just chaos and they were tired of everything, and now they're remembering why they voted for Trump. And we're also, I believe, back to Trump supporters keeping quiet. Going into 2016, Trump supporters kept quiet. Like the average, and I'm not talking about the hardcore, but they kept, and this is why the Democrats and the media were so shocked and surprised that he won. Couldn't comprehend it. Well, then Trump supporters became more vocal. But because of the increased violence against Trump and Trump supporters, we're back to people who support Trump being quiet again. If you notice, despite the fact that nationally polling, Trump is polling better, really, than he ever has, you see less Trump signs than ever. And I get messages from you all, and we hear, because people don't want to be targeted. If there's one thing that the Democrats have been successful at, that is creating an atmosphere in which average people believe that if they do not support the Democrat Party, they could be subjected to violence. Now, they can all they want claim that they have nothing to do with that. They can try to blame Trump for that. But this is a reality. And so I get this sense that we are back to 2016, where there is this very quiet, silent majority, if you will, that has gone silent, and for a good reason. It's for their own safety, and that we could end up potentially with a blowout that cannot be outpaced by cheating. Got to take a break. More on this. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. I've noticed something locally. We're going to get a traffic update here about Democrat Harris Waltz signs around the Springfield area that has really it's struck out to me, and I've just got some thoughts. So I'm going to share that here as well. The Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. Streaming live, KSGF.com, on YouTube as well. The video feed sponsored by Springfield Wraps, the designer of the KSGF studios.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt. Sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, cloudy skies with a low around 59. For your Tuesday, mostly cloudy with a high near 73. And on Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 74.
Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Emily was amazing to work with as a first-time home buyer trying to navigate a complex, fast-paced market. Emily did a wonderful job in helping us find the perfect home. Stay positive, even in a very competitive seller's market. She was professional, knowledgeable, and didn't pressure us to look at houses that would not work or go over our budget. We absolutely plan on working with her again if we ever need a realtor. Cannot recommend her enough. You know, oftentimes people who are selling homes, they look short term and they want to close, and they're like, fine, and they try to talk you into it, right? Like, you see something you don't like. Well, you can always change that. You know, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But what's great about Emily is from the get-go, out of the gate, she wants to know what it is you're looking for, and she's going to be the reminder. She's going to be the one after you start to get frustrated and you can't find what it is that you're looking for, and so you start to rationalize and you're willing to settle for something that isn't what you're looking for long term. She's going to remind you, now listen, I know you're frustrated, but you've got to remember that you said you wanted this for this reason. And of course, you can always change your mind, but point being is she's going to be there to help you get you into what it is that you're looking for and not try to get you into something as fast as possible. For all of your home buying needs, your home selling needs, Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Text message: violence, retribution, condoned by the federal government. I see a few political signs around Springfield, mostly supporting Harris, but those seem to be mostly around academic neighborhoods, elites, yes. I don't trust our local, state, and federal government to protect the rights of anyone who doesn't support the elites in power. And this is becoming increasingly prevalent. And there have been, we've talked about the cases here, Trump supporters who have been attacked and in some instances even killed. And when this does happen, it's acknowledged. There was that case in which a man, I think he shot or he ran over an 18 or 19-year-old guy and said it was because he was a Republican and he thought he was an extremist, using the same verbiage that we hear from the Democrats. Just weeks ago, there was an elderly man putting a Trump sign up in his yard and he got run over and killed by somebody for doing that. So it's not uncommon, and people know this. We know that this is happening. Of course, you put on top of that the attacks against Donald Trump, and then what we see is that when Democrat voters get polled, a significant portion of them support the killing of political opposition, according to the poll, their own acknowledgement. When it came to Trump, over 50% of Democrats in a Rasmussen poll said they were either supportive of it or they weren't necessarily against it. They were kind of on the fence as to whether or not it's something that would be good for the country. And that message gets received by average people, particularly people with kids or people that are vulnerable, the most vulnerable above us. Now, if you're some, alpha male gun-toting guy, you may not be as concerned about it. But if you're a single mom or an elderly person, somebody that's in a more vulnerable state in life, it can be frightening and worrisome. And this is particularly for older generations, something that was never, ever, ever considered to be part of American life. This is what happened in dictatorships, third world countries, banana republics, where you had to hide your political preference out of fear for your personal safety. But this is where we are in this country today. And then, of course, the gaslighting of claiming that it's the left who has to be afraid and that it's the right that has all of the dangerous militia people lurking about. They're just not very good at being political terrorists because they don't actually ever do anything. But we're told that they exist, and we need to be very worried about them. I think this area is telling that you don't see a lot of Trump signs. And I've had people express concern, like I'm worried about this election. I don't see any Trump signs around here. Now, while some people may on the left try and convince themselves, well, that's because, people are seeing the light. That is not what's going on. No reasonable person is going to believe in this part of the state, in this part of the country, that there is a massive lack of Donald Trump supporters, that the reason that signs aren't being put up like they were in 2016 or even 2020 is because those supporters are no longer supporters of Donald Trump. That's absurd. I mean, as inaccurate as polling can be, I think we all know that people who supported Trump, particularly in 2016, they're still there. The polling shows that they're still there. In fact, the polling shows to a larger degree. It's obviously because of fear. And maybe not even fear for one's life, but people just don't. Here's one of the other differences between people that are for less government, that are more conservative, that are more constitutionally minded. Generally in life, they just don't want to be hassled. They don't want to hassle. They don't want to deal with the harassment. They don't want to deal with their neighbor being like, I didn't know you were one of those MAGA people. They don't want to deal with, somebody that they know that, maybe they're private about their particular political beliefs. They just don't want to be harassed. They don't want to be name called. And so it's just don't even put a sign up. People on the left, they don't care about that stuff so much because they're usually, they're the biggest offenders of it, the name calling, the shaming, and it doesn't really bother them. They don't care so much about that sort of thing. And whereas people who are, again, more conservative, they just want to live life and be left alone, and they want to be able to support who they want to support without being harassed for it. And so collectively, ranging from that just don't want to be harassed and name-called all the way up to fearing for their physical safety, I think that this is the large reason that, you do not see the Trump signs out there, at least in this part of the country and part of the state, that we've been accustomed to in the past. And there really is no other explanation for it. Other than, again, if people are going to try to claim, well, that's because Trump has massively lost support. That's just an absurd notion. Again, if there's some areas of the country you could maybe try to make that sort of argument, but in this area, that's not the case. I've noticed an interesting trend as well, and maybe you have also. And that is, to a large degree, when I see a yard that has a Harris Waltz sign in it, it also has a sign for every single Democrat that is running for office. Now, I've seen some where there's just one Harris Waltz sign, but there's just a lot of these yards where it's got 80 frickin' signs, every Democrat under the sun. And you don't normally see it to that degree. You might see it every so often, but when you do see it, who is it that generally you see this? You see it people that they're hell or high water. They usually, they work the campaigns, they volunteer in the offices. They're just obsessed. They are hardcore, no matter what, makes no difference whatsoever. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to vote for every single Democrat. They're the people that won't shut up, about it. They just won't leave you alone, and they're just obsessed with it. And the fact that there's such a high percentage, this isn't scientific, but as I drive around and I see, even outside of Springfield, that it seems like half or more of the yards that have the Harris Waltz sign in them, they have all of them. And that tells me that there is a lack of normal people that have the Harris Waltz signs. And I don't mean I'm not saying that in a disparaging way, but most people, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, they're not that into politics. They're not that hardcore. Most will put up a sign, or they'll support Trump or they'll support Harris, but they don't want a whole slew of signs. And the fact that you see less of those, proportionally speaking, than you do the hardcore, give me every Democrat sign you have, tells me that you've got a disproportionate high number of people in this area who are willing to show support for Harris Waltz because they're just obsessed and they're the hardcore people, not your swing voters, not your independent voters. And that just is what it tells me when you see that occurring. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm usually not about this sort of thing. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Some of your messages coming in regarding the lack of Trump signs. Let's head over here. And my contention is it's clearly not because of a massive drop-off in support for Donald Trump, but because of the increased political violence against Trump and Trump supporters, that it's just a self-preservation move. You're absolutely right, Nick. Me and my family and friends are not posting our Trump signs. We don't want anyone to harm our wives, our children, or our animals. And others saying, my wife asked me not to put a sign in our yard because we don't want our daughter's car vandalized. And another noting, Trump signs may make one a target, but to me, Democrat signs say gun-free home. Well, unless it's Kamala Harris's house, of course, because she's just going to shoot anyone that comes through that front door. That's that ludicrous position of hers, incidentally, is becoming more and more viewed as total and complete BS. And it's everything about her is so inauthentic. And so twice now, she's thrown out just casually, the debate, I'm a gun owner, and that proves I won't try to take away your guns, which that by itself is absurd because the definition of someone who's elite is believing that the rules do not apply to them. So the idea that Kamala Harris claims that she owns a gun, that means she believes in your right to own one as well, flies in the face of everything that we know about the Democrat Party. I mean, look at how they dealt with COVID. But this came up again because she pretended to casually, just mention, well, if somebody breaks into my home, I'm going to shoot them. And, just like that's just who she is. Increasingly, people, for a number of different reasons, and I think it's just common sense. I mean, anyone really believe that? Anyone really believe that Kamala, she's always packing heat? Like she would know what to do. All right. Another, I won't advertise my conservative points of view in my yard because I would like to receive my mail and Amazon packages. My Trump sign got egged in Stratford. 1 out of 10 would curse me. Sign in Marshfield got eggs 2 years ago. Since prices have gone up, however, no more eggs, LOL. Well, that is the upside, I suppose, of the Kamala Harris inflation, is that it costs more to vandalize your home. There was a posting. I don't know if this gal is running. I was trying to find if she's running as a Democrat. There was a posting made by this person who's running on... well, her name's Ashley Cossins. It's in Missouri's 131, and I couldn't find. There was a share of the posting by the Greene County Democrats, which made me think she's a Democrat. But
when I look it up, it says she's Democratic Party.
Okay, all right. So she had made this posting on social media saying, to the woman who pushed my literature back and declared herself a Republican before slamming her door, I'm fighting for you too because you matter. You could split the ticket if you feel it's right. Above all, so I'm not exactly sure what she meant by that. Above all, know that dismissing legitimate candidates in favor of party loyalty is a choice. I recognize that I'm in an uphill battle, but I won't be giving up anytime soon, certainly not as quick as you gave up on me. When I work to eliminate grocery and hygiene product taxes, fully fund public schools, and protect your private health decision from political interference, I hope you'll remember me. I see you as a person, not just another door. I'm looking forward to being your next state representative for the 131 district. Now, the first thought I had about this is generally not the best way to win over voters. When you have interaction with someone that is not of your political persuasion, to go on social media and start, just criticizing them and sort of the shame on you and I'll still be looking out for you. Now, she doesn't, name the person or anything. And so, it's not like calling out an individual, but it's just that whole, on one hand saying I'll represent everyone, but then on the other hand, when somebody says, hey, I'm not going to vote for you, that gets you emotionally charged enough to where you have to go on social media and start wagging your finger at them. That is one of those situations where your words are saying one thing, but then your actions are demonstrating another. And I'll give it to, I think, anyone who decides to run and really run, go door to door, particularly in a race that they feel or recognize that they do not have a very good chance of winning. I think that's admirable, in even if I disagree with the political position. There are a lot of these Republican-heavy districts in which a Democrat will run, or if you have a Democrat-heavy district and a Republican runs, in all likelihood, they're not going to win. They don't even bother to really, they'll do a few speeches and a few fundraise, and they'll raise some money, and then they'll send out flyers. But to go door to door, that takes a lot. Not just physically, particularly if you do it a lot, but there's an emotional component to that. I just could not even imagine ever doing something like that, just to go door to door to door and dealing with the different reactions and people that tell you to go to hell, that slam the door in your face, call you a this, call you a that, whatever your political persuasion is. That's exhausting. So anyone who gets out there and actually does that, I think they've got something in them that most people don't. But it just, to then get on social media and start dogging on someone because they disagreed with you. And I'm sure, I understand from a human standpoint that after a while you just get so fed up. I'm sure it wasn't the first time that she has dealt with somebody that wasn't necessarily favorable towards her political push. And so, it may have just been a long day. There were there was something else in here that, I don't know why this just caught me, this posting that was made. Fully fund public schools. I'm going to fully fund public schools. What's that number? I think people who claim they want to fully fund public schools, they don't even have a number. It just feels good to say that. What does fully fund mean? Well, until they have all the money they need. Well, how is that determined? Because I can guarantee you this, it makes no difference how much money you give them, or any institution for that matter. They can always find the quote need for more. So I just have little patience for anyone that that says fully fund. I'll fully fund. Now, number one, funding is not the issue when it comes to education in this country. We are so far behind the rest of the world, yet per student spend so much more. Money is not the problem. But these blanketed terms of fully this and fully that, without identifying what that is, that's meaningless. Other than the demonstration of someone who that's their go-to answer, it's easy, just throw money at it, throw money at it, throw money at it, throw money at it, down a rat hole. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. All right. If you missed any of the show, of course, we have the on-demand section. Maybe a little delayed this morning. Oh, no. Did we get that fixed?
No.
No, that's still okay. They're still working on that. We got one of our drives is down or something or other. So the podcast may be a little bit delayed, but we are back on iTunes as well as Spotify and then KSGF.com. The podcast on demand section there. You can listen to this show. So if you missed any of it or you want to share it on social media, you can feel free to do that as well. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. I am Nick Reed. Welcome to the show. Someone had asked where you vote early, or where in Missouri you can vote early starting tomorrow. I believe early voting for Missouri is towards the end of October. Now, absentee, that I believe does kick off tomorrow, and that's if you just go to your county clerk's office. I believe that you have to take it in Missouri. We should have Shane Scholler on to go over details of that. Isn't that right? That they started mailing out for absentees, or do you know?
I'm not
Offhand?
sure off the top of my head.
But there's absentee is different than early. Early is just because you just don't want to vote on election day. Whereas absentee is if you have some reason that you absolutely cannot. You're going to be in for surgery, or you're going to be out of the country, or whatever other reason. And so those are the differences. Increasingly, the Trump campaign and Republicans have been very, very vocal about encouraging Republicans to vote early. And this is because, well, there's a number of different reasons, but one of the large reasons is money. Whenever you vote, and it shows that you voted, of course, it's not seen how you voted, but the information regarding if you have voted can be obtained. This is public information, and the campaigns have access to that. And so their argument is, in addition to just getting that vote cast early, those dollars that they might have otherwise used in order to really push you to go out to vote, be it mailers to your house or whatever form they're using, they realize we no longer have to use those dollars in order to push you to vote because you've already voted, and then they can route those dollars to other people. So it's more efficient that way. Now, every state's different in terms of how you turn those ballots in. Some states just allow you to mail them in. And while there is concern about mail, I mean, there was some audit done that showed recently that essentially the post office, in terms of whatever standards are put in place regarding the ballots, they just weren't cutting it. They weren't doing it. And listen, mail gets lost. It happens. I don't think that mail is as unreliable as it gets the stereotype as being, but it does get lost. And so as low as the odds might be, if you live in a state where you can mail your ballot back in, as low as the odds may be that it gets lost, it's still higher than if you actually are there on voting day and submitting the vote yourself. But at this point, unfortunately, it becomes a numbers game. And the decision, you can go one of two routes. You can either encourage everyone for the sake of security, vote on the day of, or you can recognize, all right, maybe some votes are going to get lost that way. But we gain more by having people vote early and then utilizing the dollars saved by retargeting people who are on the fence about getting out to vote, will get out to vote if they get prompted and pushed. And so it becomes a numbers game. And you gain more than you lose. You gain more. They're looking at the numbers and determining that they gain more by pushing Republicans to vote early than they may lose because of lost votes in the mail for those states that allow the mail-in ballot situation to occur. We're the only modern country that is as sloppy with voting. We're the only one that is this sloppy. Other countries are much more strict. Countries like, I believe it's France, there's only one day to vote. It's on voting day, and it is a paper ballot, and they hand count them. I mean, we are embarrassingly sloppy when it comes to how little we regard the sacred nature of our vote and the security of our vote. And it's for deliberate reasons, and we all know those reasons. It's just embarrassing for a country that has, a political party that screams loudest about democracy, 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 yet has the loosest, most embarrassing standards when it comes to making sure that the vote is secure. We're going to talk with Congressman Burleson coming up here in a couple of moments. Right now, the latest news update.
Hey, I pulled up the press release for the absentee voting from the Greene County clerk's website, if you would like me to read
Yes,
that for
please.
you. Okay, so absentee voting, it will start on Tuesday, September 24th for those eligible voters who are unable to go to their regular polling places on November 5th. Now, absentee ballots, they may be voted in the county clerk's office at the Greene County Archives Election Center, which is off of North Boonville Avenue between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, beginning on Tuesday, September 24th, until the day before the election. Homebound or out-of-town voters may request an absentee ballot by mail, either handwritten or from the fillable form that can be found on the Greene County Clerk's website. Now, those requests must be signed by the voters and received in the clerk's office no later than 5 p.m. on the second Wednesday prior to the election, which is October 23rd. Mailed ballots must be voted, notarized, and returned by mail and received in the clerk's office before 7 p.m. on Elections Day. And anybody who does have questions, you can reach out to the clerk's office.
And I don't, that was all absentee stuff, correct? So I did find it's very difficult to find hard information regarding early voting in Missouri. I did find an NBC News Missouri election page, and it has key dates listed, and under the key info, can I vote early before Election Day in person? Yes, in-person absentee voting is available. No excuse is required after Tuesday, October 22nd. So it sounds like if you, that AKA early voting, where you don't need an excuse, that would be that October 22nd, or it says after 22nd. So I don't know if that means the 23rd. Anyhow, call your county clerk's office, and they'll let you know what it is that you need to do, because every state is different. Again, some you can request the absentee ballots be mailed to you, but you may have to take them in. You know, there's a number of different rules that are in place depending on the state that you're in. And here in Missouri, I would just argue your best bet right now is to call the county clerk's office, whatever county you're in, and ask them what it is that you can do, what it is that you need to do in order to vote if you are wanting to vote early. And like I said, that's something that the Trump campaign has been very adamant in recognizing, that this is the sloppy, unsecure game that we are playing in this country. And so you can either out of principle not play the game and risk really losing, or say, don't hate the player, hate the game, and get in it as a player. And that's what the Trump campaign is doing. By the way, the numbers are showing very, very good for Republicans. In terms of the number of, in the states that have already allowed requests for absentee ballots, and some states, people are registered by party, not all states are, but in the states that are, the ballot request is significantly lower than it has been in the past for Democrat voters, and it is significantly higher for Republicans than it has been in the past. And the belief is that if Republicans beat Democrats on early and absentee voting, then it's game over, because Republicans always have a better turnout on Election Day on the whole. And so if they are even or ahead when it comes to the early voting, then it's going to be, they predict an easy walk for Trump. Did you do weather?
I have not
Okay.
yet. Let me do that real quick. The first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 59. For your Tuesday, mostly cloudy with a high near 73. And on Wednesday, mostly sunny skies with a high near 74.
Streaming live, KSGF.com. Do we have a Heroes Breakfast Friday?
We do.
Got a Heroes Breakfast Friday. Warrior's Journey. Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical. Delta Roofing. All making that possible along with Scramblers. So if you're a veteran, love for you to come out and join us on Friday for a Heroes Breakfast. Congressman Burleson joins us. Thank you for being with us this morning. I'd like to start start off by getting the latest when it comes to the government shutdown showdown. What is the latest development there? Are you there, Congressman Burleson?
Hey,
Hey,
good morning.
Hey, good morning. Hey, thank you for being here. The government shutdown situation, the continuing resolutions. I honestly don't pay as much attention to this as I used to because it has become this pattern of Republicans say, here's what we want to do, and Democrats say, well, we'll shut down the government and blame you, and Republicans say, okay, well, what do you want us to do then? What's the latest with this? Where do we stand? Is this going to be a repeat of what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, it's going to fold out exactly the way that you described. So we're going to end up in a situation where we get we try to do a CR that had the SAVE Act and ended after Trump took office. And that way you've got, at least all of Trump's first year is not a Nancy Pelosi style budget.
Right.
But we couldn't do that. We couldn't get, and this didn't come from necessarily conservatives. It came from a lot of the moderates, people that want to fund the military industrial complex.
Yeah.
They basically they balked at this idea. They didn't support the speaker. So now I think Johnson really, it wasn't even. I think that he just wanted to show that he wanted to put up a fight.
Right.
That's my guess. But ultimately, we're going to do what Congress has done for 27 years, which is punt the ball to Christmas, pass with a continuing resolution, and then we'll get to Christmas, and they will be in crisis mode, and they'll say, our hands are tied. The only thing we can do is pass a 1-year omnibus bill that no one's read. That's what I predict will happen.
And then, of course, we'll be told, and by then we'll be in a better position to really get what we want.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you and I were on the airways having this exact conversation just about a year ago.
Yeah, and I still was under the false hopes that it could be changed. But but the only way to change it is with a strong majority and a executive with a president in the White House. But absent of that, I don't think that the makeup of this Congress and the framework that we're working under is going to force people to be measured in their budgeting.
The past several days have really been a number of different, arguably smaller instances, but added up together, have been what seemed to me is good news for the Trump campaign. Of course, you had the announcements of a non-endorsement by the Teamsters, by the leadership, but the actual workers let it be known that overwhelmingly they supported Trump. There was an article in either Red State or Fox News noting that increasingly we're hearing this. There's a pipe fitters union that says 70% of their workers support Trump. There was a UAW member talking about how around Detroit they're doing rallies everywhere, and he says 60 to 75%, regardless of what the union leadership is saying. Then on the flip side, you have the IRS endorsing Kamala Harris. When I saw that, I thought to myself, don't you all know that that's how out of touch they are to not realize that's probably not going to help her. And then yesterday, the Muslim mayor of the largest Muslim city in the country, up in Michigan, came out and endorsed Donald Trump. There was a Democrat out of Pennsylvania that has endorsed Donald Trump. Even Fetterman, not endorsing Trump, but noted that Trump has changed the Republican Party, and he's got a special relationship with the voters in Pennsylvania. So you put that up against the endorsements that Kamala Harris continues to get of these elite government people. It just, to me, seems as if both camps are really defining themselves.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. But it couldn't be more of a clear decision. Two very, very different people, two very different paths. And so, when the Cheneys endorsed Kamala,
right? Well,
that was,
she
to me, that was
it.
the tell.
When she said she was honored, that's the thing that just killed me. How obtuse that campaign could be. Their instinct should have been to just ignore it, but instead to go out and say that she's honored to get that.
Yeah.
It's just nuts to me.
Well, you would think that Democrats would see that and say,
no shame.
That they'd say, oh, wait, Cheneys are endorsing us? The guy that we called evil and Satan for a decade is endorsing us?
Yeah.
So, but no, they're bought in. So
I wonder though if I do think that there's potential that could be extremely damaging, because when you are looking at some of these states in which I think it's Michigan again, where Jill Stein has a majority of Muslim support there over Kamala Harris, and you have the real extreme sort of left-wing that feels Kamala isn't left-wing enough, and those sorts of things. While the Democrat base may ignore the Dick Cheney endorsements, if I'm Jill Stein, I'm running those ads in those states, and in arguably what she could be a spoiler for Kamala Harris. And so while it may get dismissed as no big deal and largely ignored by most Democrats, I think that the fact that Kamala Harris posted that she's honored, that could be used by some of these third-party candidates to torpedo her.
I hope you're right. That would be wonderful, and I hope you're right. I don't know if that's usually they don't have much of an impact on the race, but we've also never seen the number of registered voters that you're talking about that are Muslim. We've never seen this many, and we've also not seen an environment where you've had so many people across the country register to vote that are illegal aliens in this nation. and we're trying. I mean, everybody's trying to crack down on that. We're trying to do it from the federal level. I hope the states are trying to do it, but it's clear that it is happening, and it's happening in a widespread
Right.
way. It's not enough to sway the elections. So it's disturbing, and hopefully some states will address it.
Elon Musk, I believe, had posted an observation that it's not an accident. Some of these, what would be considered purple states in many instances, are having tens or hundreds of thousands of illegals dropped in or Haitians dropped in. It's about turning them blue. That's why it's very strategic in the states they're putting them in order to try to, and I thought that was pretty interesting as well. I mean, it would make sense. I mean, if your goal, if the whole goal is to import as many people as possible for the purposes of eventually giving them the status to vote, then it would only make strategic sense to put them where they're going to make the most difference.
Right. Even if you don't even know how they're going to vote,
right?
At least if strategically, if you know you're going to lose a state, why not reshuffle the deck?
Right.
And see what the next hand is. But that's what they're doing, is just trying to inject a completely different population into the electorate.
What's the sense? We're talking with Congressman Burleson. I mean, I know people, we probably hear it a lot, and there's so much talk about the assassination attempts against Trump, and there's that really a second one. To me, there's been three. There was the individual that was arrested as he was evidently getting ready to leave the country. I forget his name, but he was, I think, Pakistani, and he had been in Iran, and he was flagged but let into the United States by Homeland Security, and then he tried to recruit someone to assassinate Trump, and then he was going to flee the country. He got caught. So to me, there's been three that we know of assassination attempts, though that one didn't come nearly as close. But all of just this recognition of complete and utter failure by the Secret Service and concerns that it isn't getting any better. People listen, they hear the conversations, they hear people talking about it, but is this something that is part of daily conversation, or is it there's other things going on with you all in Capitol Hill? What's the feel on that?
Yeah, I think whenever the first two events happened, we all kind of in the locker room, or or around the, when we were at places, that's what generally members talk about. And there's certainly amongst Republicans, there's a concern that they're trying to kill our candidate.
Yeah.
What's also talked about is that you've got, we haven't even seen professional assassins, right? So this idiot kid in Pennsylvania, and then you've got this other idiot that tried to shoot him at Mar-a-Lago or down in Florida. They're just nut jobs. I hope they're just nut jobs, right, and they're not connected to some that's like bigger plot. But we do know Iran is trying. They've got money, they've got resources. They train Hezbollah, they train Hamas, they fund them. We know that they're funding an assassination effort on Donald Trump in some way.
Well, and finally, let me ask you, and then if there's anything else we're missing, please just chime in. But Matt Gaetz had said last week that he was told by a whistleblower, I believe within Homeland Security, that they were aware of 5, quote, teams, if you will, of individuals that were plotting assassination attempts on Trump. 2, I think he said domestic, 3 foreign, or perhaps it was the other way around. Do you know anything about that? Have you heard anything beyond the claim made by Matt Gaetz on that?
I haven't talked to him about that. He has access to more information.
Okay.
In that regards, because he's on armed services, so I could ask him directly.
And here's why. This is the thing. If that is true, I'm sure it's true. He was told that. I have no doubt he would make that claim.
I don't think he would make that up.
But if that's the case, why? That tells me that they know. And I could be wrong about this, but if in fact we are aware, that means that we have information that must have like people attached to it, right? Whether it's the team itself or we got this information from somewhere. It seems to me as if there would be sort of a, hey, all points bulletin, these individuals we are seeking. I mean, if there's ever, well, you see any time that there is just a random shooter, if it is revealed who the shooter is and they are out, they're evading police, there's all over the country, pictures of the individual. This is who he is. This is what we know about him. And if there are 5 groupings of individuals out there that we are aware of that are planning to assassinate, I mean, do we know where they are? If we don't know where they are, do we know who they are? And if so, why is that not being put out there so people can, I mean, they seem to have no problem putting the American people on watch when it comes to people in the Capitol on January 6th and, soliciting help in every way possible and putting out pictures of people. Why they wouldn't do the same if we have that information on assassins. And again, maybe we don't, maybe this is information gathered in a manner that doesn't provide us that information, but that's something I'm curious about.
Now, I think that in general, the answer to your question is there's an apathy around keeping Donald Trump safe by the Democrats. That they just, that's to me, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that the Secret Service wanted him dead. I don't know that that's true. I think that in general, this administration is apathetic about keeping Donald Trump alive.
Right.
And so in their apathy, they didn't provide resources. They withheld resources, all of that. And so,
Before
they completely wouldn't even allow any resources to Robert Kennedy Jr., which is crazy.
Before we let you go, is there anything else that we need to be aware of?
I'm going to be meeting with Robert Kennedy Jr. here in just a few short hours.
Oh, all right.
So I hope I'm not leaking anything, but basically we've been in contact with some people that are working with Trump on healthcare policy. This Trump wants to bring in Kennedy and some of his ideas.
Right.
So we have a working meeting here coming up shortly today, and I'm looking forward to telling you about it next week.
All right. Yeah, we look forward to that as well. Congressman Burleson, thank you so much, and I hope that your week is a good one.
Thank you, Nick. You too.
All right. Take care. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. All right, went a bit long with Congressman Burleson. Thank you to him for being so accommodating. That being said, apologies to traffic as they stand by to now give you the latest traffic update.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll have showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 59. For your Tuesday, mostly cloudy skies with a high near 73. And on Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 74. And real quick, the Pyramid Roofing Company, many of you have experienced lots of rain over the weekend. I'm pretty jealous because my area did not, but if you experienced issues with your gutters, maybe you noticed some yellowing on your ceiling, or you just have like full-blown leaks in your home, I want to recommend Josh and his team over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. Now, whenever you call the team, they are going to come out, they're going to do a free roof inspection for you. When they're out there, they will take tons of photos and videos to show you exactly what is going on, and then they are going to work with you to come up with a solution that is going to work best for your home. Sometimes that doesn't mean a whole new roof, but maybe just a simple roof repair. And the best part about the Pyramid team is they are going to be upfront and honest about the work that needs to be done. So if it is time to have the Pyramid Roofing team out at your home, go ahead and give Josh a call today. Now you can find all of that contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Tim Waltz at a rally in Pennsylvania creating Donald Trump's newest campaign ad when he made this declaration.
We can't afford 4 more years of this.
Yep. Can't
True.
afford 4 more years. Now, he was talking about school shootings and claiming that the reason mentally unhealthy young people carry out a shooting is because Donald Trump and J.D. Vance support the Second Amendment. That's the connection there, which, of course, is absurd and in all defiance of reality. But, of course, I mean, just given what we've been through for the past, I mean, this applies to anything. We cannot afford 4 more years of this. Now, while the Harris campaign be like, well, they were talking about, gun violence. You people have been in charge. So why hasn't anything been done? Now, if the excuse is, well, that's because Republicans have blocked us in Congress. Let's not forget, up until a few years ago, Democrats controlled everything. Remember Nancy Pelosi? Speaker of the House, remember her? Chuck Schumer leads the Senate. They had everything they wanted. They could do anything they wanted. This is how the Green New Deal made it through. The laughably and ironically named Inflation Reduction Act, which actually caused inflation to skyrocket because they were in charge and they got to do everything they wanted. Apparently, that was a higher priority than saving children. Because if what they say is true, I'm being straight for those of you who are Democrats, Democrat voters, and you support all this, and you think, well, they just, there were other priorities. Now, we're told laws will stop this from happening. The only reason that senseless shootings take place is because of extremists like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, who are controlled by the NRA. That's the only reason. That's why we hear the blood is on their hands. So if the Democrats are accurate and that new laws will stop these things from happening, why did they not do it? Why was it not a priority? Are you telling me that they don't really actually care that much? That the infrastructure bill was more important than the countless young people who have lost their lives senselessly to gun violence? If you are going to claim, and this is the standard we should all, regardless of political affiliation, should demand. If you are going to claim that elected officials in government positions ultimately have the ability to, through laws, stop mass shootings from occurring, and you had the opportunity to do it and did not, that's on you. You know, Republicans take the position that new laws, criminals do not obey laws. And they already, every time they shoot someone and kill someone, they're violating the law. Every time they take a gun to a gun-free zone in order to shoot people, they are violating the law. So the Republican position, whether you agree with it or not, is that creating new laws are not going to save lives. The Democrats' position is, yes, they will. So of the two, the Democrats are the ones who, if you accept what they claim is their belief that new laws will save lives, they're the ones who willingly do not enact laws to save lives of people from gun violence. There's no disputing that. They have been in charge on numerous occasions. They had a couple years under Obama, where Obama ran everything. They had a couple years under Biden, where the Democrats ran everything. So this means one of two things. And if there's a third option, I'm more than willing to entertain it. One, they know that what they're saying is not true. They are just raising money off the death of people who were killed by other people. And they see it as cha-ching, 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 let's raise money. Or they really do believe that they can save lives by passing new laws, but for some reason choose not to do it. I am not aware of any third option. They either believe that it will work or they don't, or they believe that it won't. Neither which, by the way, is a very positive reflection of who these people are. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. In addition to your go-to place for recreational vehicles, Wilder RV offers a full spectrum of repairs, be it HVAC, plumbing, electrical, water damage, slide-outs, appliances, general maintenance like roofing conditions, wheel bearing, brake adjustments, battery inspection, propane safety check. They have a free on-site sewer dump, by the way. They offer propane bottles. You name it, they got it. That's why people from all over the country travel to Clinton, Missouri. We're lucky. It's just over an hour away from us. Straight up, 13. WilderRV.com, also KSGF.com under Nick's endorsements. Do you know who the one person in this country that I firmly believe that their life is in, the one person whose life is in greater danger than Donald Trump's is currently?
RFK Jr.?
No.
Who?
P. Diddy.
Oh, yes.
He has been placed on suicide watch. Oh, that's kind of what happened with Epstein. If what they're saying is true, the girl child was asking me, like, who is he? Who's P. Diddy? I was like, well, it's Sean Combs, and then Sean Puffy Combs, and then Puff Daddy, and now he's P. Diddy. And so there may have been some things. She goes, was he a rapper or an artist? I said, yeah, and he dated J-Lo for a while. So remember, wasn't it him in that nightclub shooting when he and J-Lo were dating? Like they were there, and some woman claimed that he shot her. But, no eyewitnesses would come forward anyhow. If what's being said is true, then there are a lot of high profile, powerful people, just like at Epstein Island, that were part of these, what do they call them, freakouts or something? He had a name where essentially the way it sounded is these people would, these high-profile individuals would come to his place and they would all get on drugs and basically just having these mass orgies. And a lot of these individuals were there against their will, according to reports, that some of this was what would qualify as rape, and that every room had video cameras going, whether people knew it or not, and that he essentially that there was tapes on everyone. So if what is being said is true, then this is another Epstein situation where you have very powerful people with a lot to lose that could be on these videotapes, or not tapes, but whatever format, these digital videos. And now he's been placed on suicide watch. I'm not kidding when I say I think if I use my head, he'll be lucky not to get killed. Why would he not? That's like, under what circumstances would he not be killed? If what they're saying is true about some of these people being very high-profile, powerful individuals. Now, there are a couple of ways that these individuals could potentially avoid finding themselves in trouble. One is the evidence gets destroyed. That somehow there's a fire, or it just disappears, or there is a pipe burst and there's water damage, and it destroys all of the evidence. And so, in regards to crimes that would have been committed by any high-profile individuals, there's just no evidence of it whatsoever. Or, he could be killed. Now, here's the other thing. If he does get killed or commit suicide Epstein style, and those videotapes still exist, you're going to have people that's very valuable to. Now, and it doesn't mean that it's still going to come out, because after all, look at all of the people that we are to understand that are high-profile people that were buying children to rape at Epstein Island, yet none of those people have faced any charges. None. Which is a pretty remarkable thing to think about. That you had somebody who is, it's not a question as to whether or not this was happening. This is why Ghislaine, his right-hand gal, is sitting in prison today. This is why Epstein was sitting in prison. Because they were selling children to people to be raped. Yet none of the rapists are being held accountable. Despite the fact that many of these now women that were children at the time have pointed fingers and named names. In the depositions, Bill Richardson, former Democrat administration official under the Obama administration, he was named as one of the individuals in one of the depositions as a rapist. Of course, Bill Clinton is noted to have been on the island, according to some of the women now that were girls at the time. If they are willing to go to the lengths they did in order to cover that up, to keep that quiet, what do we think, that P. Diddy is going to be safe somehow? I don't think so. I mean, that guy, I would be very, 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 very concerned if I were him. And I don't know what you do. If you're not going to be allowed out, I certainly wouldn't ask to be put in the general population, because it would be very easy to get somebody to kill you there. Now, some may believe there's no way it would be too obvious if he, quote, killed himself. I don't think they're worried about that. So what if, let's say that he Epsteins himself And the vast majority of Americans know exactly what happened. The vast majority of Americans like, yeah, right. So what? What's going to happen? What happened with Epstein? Nothing. So it's been demonstrated in this country when somebody who is high profile and is known to have information about powerful individuals raping children, and that person dies under circumstances that most Americans recognize it was a murder to keep his mouth shut, and you see that nobody gets held accountable, nobody wants to look into it for somewhat obvious reasons. Why wouldn't you kill P. Diddy? And of course, you start thinking, well, but all of the people, there are all these witnesses. I mean, clearly, what about the girls who were part of this? What about some of them that were allegedly raped? What do you think? They're going to say anything? I mean, if they can get Epstein, if they can get P. Diddy, you think any of them are going to open their mouths? He could very well be the only person right now whose life is in greater danger in this country than Donald Trump's. Another rich celebrity endorsing Kamala Harris, celebrity chef Padma Lakshmi, saying that because she is an amateur cook, that means she'll be a great president. Cooking well requires organization, attention to detail, patience, and the impulse to bring people together. In a divided country, these qualities will help Miss Harris be a good, even great president. Boy, are they reaching. Glenn Beck's next.